I'll just take a deep breath, take a look outside, and enjoy the beauty that is Sion, Switzerland. We flew here on a viewer recommendation. It was an amazing and wonderful arrival. We are departing here to another airport on another viewer's recommendation. We are going to go to Split in Croatia on the Adriatic, which is the second biggest city, I think, in Croatia. And when we get there, I think you'll see is one of the more beautiful ones, and certainly wouldn't be a bad place to be right now because it is semi-tropical. So we're going to head down to our southeast. We're going to get a little bit of sun and fun. Took a breather, a couple days off from flying, had a little bit of work to do. For those of you who don't know, I'm in the cable news business, and that got a little bit busy with the U.S. political scene these days being what it is, and the presidential primary race is heating up. And now, understandably, because I've spent a little bit of time doing that, I think you'll understand why I want to spend a little bit more time doing this. So at any rate, we are going to head out and depart here on runway 7. And because this is not exactly an airliner-friendly field, we are going to have to go to this taxiway, cross the runway, go to the other taxiway, and head on out the rest of the way. Now, also, as we just button up here, love that animation. You can almost hear the door go thunk as it closes, and little whoosh as the seals sort of grab and the door closes shut. But because of the geography, as you can see right here, these are the Alps. And this is some serious business. We are going to be taking off in this direction, and I could show you on a map, and I will in a second, but, oh, look at this. It's beautiful there. But we are going to be heading out this way, and we're going to be flying about 11 miles. And you can't just sort of depart out of here any which way because you'll hit something. So the procedures are designed to basically keep you within this valley here, either holding or turning around or doing any number of different things, because there are a million SIDs for this field, just like there are a million SIDs, at least it seems, for just about every European airport, at least compared to airports in the United States. So what we're going to do is the particular departure we're flying, which is off of runway 7 over there, is actually not in the Mighty Dashes database, but it is published, so we built it ourselves. So I'll show you how we built it, basically, but it's going to call for us to fly 11 miles out this way, and then we're going to reverse, but we need to reverse using a left turn, and at the same time, we can't get too far over to the right to make that left turn because we'll smack into that mountain right there. So in essence, we're going to be flying a teardrop hold almost, but it's just a reversal. So we're going to be flying out this way, and at about 10 miles out of those 11.9, maybe it's 10.9, but I'll check the chart, we're going to bear about 30 degrees off to the right, start a clock for a minute, and after a minute we're going to do almost a little more than, well, we'll do a 210 degree turn to get us back and come back on the 235 radial. Oh, I didn't tell you. We're flying outbound on the 068 radial of the Sion VOR. Bend a little bit right, teardrop entry, make a left turn back around, and then intercept the 235 radial, and then we are going to fly it about 30 miles out this way. And of course, the reason for all of it is whether you're flying departure this way or that way, so that you don't basically put yourself at risk of hitting any or all of this, because there's barely a couple miles across this valley. So they want to fly you out somewhere where it's a little bit wider at least, and where you've got room to come around and distance from there all the way out to 30 miles past here to come upstairs. So let me just quickly show you what it's going to look like. It is the Roca. I guess it's the 1J. There's about 1 million of these, and there doesn't seem to be any clean distinction in the description in the charts as to which one is appropriate. So I'm entirely not sure, but there are about 3 or 4 of them that terminate right here at Roca, and what we're going to do is we're going to fly to Roca, and then we're going to turn to the southeast and get back on our course. But in any case, what we're going to do is we are going to take off here on the runway, and we are going to fly out, as I said, this way, and spin ourselves a little bit to the right, and then do 180, and we are going to come back at 247, and then when we get to Roca, we're going to fly outbound on the 235. So we're going to actually fly backwards on the 268, which will make it a little bit easier to do what we need to do. But we have to be 6,000 or above at Grana, and then you can see the steps along the way. We have to be at 16,000 by Sanet. And there we are. So this little maneuver, flying out, coming back, will give us enough time to gain altitude. And if you can see this description here, proceed to Grana, maintaining visual ground contact, intercept the radial. So we basically just turn until we intercept the outbound radial. And then, okay, this is a little bit different from the procedure. So we go, no, that's correct. Okay, so the 068 back to, so we re-intercept it. All right. And theoretically, we should fly visual direct Grana, but since Grana is on this radial, that's what we're going to tune in, and we're going to fly that outbound. All right, that all makes reasonable sense. So minimum 6,000 Grana, minimum 16,000 by Sion, and that's pretty much the procedure. There is a table on the next page of it with climb rates that you have to be able to do, and for this we need to do 13.4% climb all the way up to 8,100 to clear what we need to clear, and that means at 150 knots we need to climb at 2,100 feet per minute. So we're going to keep our flaps in for a little while so we can have a steeper climb gradient. And what I'm going to do, therefore, is come onto the flight deck here, and instead of a flaps 10 departure, we're going to do a flaps 15 departure. So let me just reset my V-speeds with that in mind. Flaps 15 departure, and it doesn't really materially change our runway length, but there's also something a little bit funky here because the V2 speed is below the rotate speed, but we'll let sleeping dogs lie there. I've tuned in Sion, and I've set the course for 068, so we will intercept that course outbound. And this is nav 2, which I've set up for on the first officer's side. You'll see I've set up for the 235 radial, but since I've got nav 2 in here, I can also just look at my RMI needle and get my information there. So the procedure is going to be that we are going to climb pretty steeply, and we're going to leave the flaps in. I'm not sure whether it's necessary. We'll just eyeball our climb performance, and as long as we stay above 2,100 feet per minute, we should be good. And that being the case, instead of climbing out in IAS mode, which sort of protects us slightly against stalling and falling, I'm going to fly out in vertical speed mode so that we have that bug to aim at, and I'll just manually keep my eye on the speed to keep us from falling out of the sky. Anyway, and again, I'm not sure whether that is SOP or POS or WTF or OMG. I do know that we can make that work because it gives us a literal magenta bogey right here to work for, so, or work towards. So just let me see if I can arm that. I'm not sure if I can. Not sure if it's going to let me pre-select that. So let's just see. Well, it's got that as a target. Let's see. So I go to toga, and that moves the bar up to there. Now I hit V for V speeds. No, whenever you hit V speed, it resets it to 0. So you know what we're going to do? We are going to set our V speeds, and we are going to set it to 2,100. And let's just see if we can do that. And we'll just have to manually remember to initially pitch up to 10 degrees. But being that we're only a little bit stupid, being that I'm only a bit of a maroon, as they say, I think we can manage it. So we'll just remember really, 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 really hard. And while I'm looking there, our steering can be on because we're not going to get a push. We're just going to come on right out. Do a quick before start checklist. Bus tie on, bleeds off, anti-collision comes to red. Exterior lights off, anti-ice off, APU on, PACs off, bleeds can be normal, doesn't matter, seatbelt signs on, smoking signs on, arm our emergency lights. Let's just make sure our anti-skid is on, and it is. We can test our cautions and our advisories. So that's our caution panel. Check our advisories. They're all good. All right. Clear our cautions here. Hang on. Little stuck switch. There we go. I was wondering why everything was lit up, and it's all lit up because that's what I told it to do. Anyway, since I've spoken to you last, I've got a little bit of a different sound setup. It probably won't affect recording. It's affecting the playback. Much higher fidelity playback. I've got a better D to A converter. Of course, my life being what my life is, the moment I got a higher fidelity sound playback system, I got into a fender bender and snapped my neck around, and no, I don't have any cause to sue anybody. But the jolt gave me a little bit of ringing in my left ear, which comes and goes, even when I don't get hit upside the head. But I got the requisite checkup from the neck up, and it all came out fine. And I said to the doctor, "Well, what about this ringing in my ear?" And he said, "Well, we know it's not a tumor. We know you've got almost nothing up there except your eardrum and what passes for brains, and everything else checks out." And I said, "Well, that's great." And I said, "When will the ringing in my left ear go away?" And my ear, nose, and throat guy said, it'll clear up when it does. And you probably won't even know it when it happens. So anyway, to briefly fill you in, as I mentioned, we don't have a published, no, we do have a published SID. What we do not have is one in the Dashes database. So what I did was I recreated it. So we take off here, we fly to Grana on 246 heading, then we spin back around and we come back on a 234 heading. It should be a 235 heading, but it's probably just a quirk in the data in the FMS. We come back on a 234 heading, and then I built a waypoint for Sion 235 plus whatever the DME is that we fly. And let me just rebrief that because, of course, I forgot. And no, it's not the shot to my head. It's just me being stupid. I also, there's my Navigraph charts. So the procedure is, looking at the chart, it is 10.9. So we fly out to DME 11. And then we fly back to Sion plus 24, and then out to here, Sion plus 30, and then we turn towards Raqqa. So I built in Sion 235 plus 27, and then Sion 30, although I misspelled that. And as you can see right here, it basically recreates the whole thing out this way, back this way, and then down this way. It's a little bit wonky here because it looks like I think I'm going to actually delete this, and we will fly manually 3 miles further than here because it apparently isn't taking that particular custom-made waypoint. So we will just make a note that when we get here, we will actually continue to fly outbound on the radial for another 3 miles. So it's a lot of stuff to remember, I guess, and it's certainly a lot of stuff to forget. But let's not forget, we'll check the gear pins are stowed and our nose wheel steering does work, and we have set our altimeter, we've set our V-speeds, we've tuned our radio, we've set our nav 2. I'm just going to increase our altitude to flight level 160 because here flight levels start at 10,000. Our TCAS is in standby. Let's turn our radar actually to standby. There it is. And our radios are tuned. So I believe we should probably light them up. Just put in my 10 degrees of trim. Our power levers are disc. Fuel cutoff is where both of our condition levers are. That's all good. And so let's get a rolling. Start 2 first. Select and then start. Up comes the lever 2. Start and feather. And the Mighty Dashes, Mighty Pratt & Whitney PW150 engines whistle, whoosh, and roar to life as the terrified Swiss burghers and their fraus run in stark terror. That's not true. All right. We'll do the same for number 1. And up comes the number 1 condition lever. And I'll tell you what, it's an awe-inspiring sight. There's no question about it. Now, because we got a good start on 2, let's just bring the condition lever on 2 up to max. And that little honey is now spinning its life away. Come inside, appreciate the mighty rumble and roar. Now that I'm looking in this direction, there's no reason not to set our flaps. You know, there are some crews where the first officer or whoever is not flying will stick an empty coffee cup on the flap lever just so that it provides a more noticeable visual reminder of whether you've set the flaps for takeoff correctly or not. We'll check our start, and seeing that all of our temperatures and pressures and speeds are fine, we will advance the number 1 condition lever. We'll take the opportunity now to flip our heats on. Then we will turn off our main bus tie and turn off our APU. Turn on our packs. Watch them come up to speed. Okay, turn on our taxi light. We will turn our bleeds to min, because that's where they're going to need to be. We will quickly check to see whether our demist is open, and it is. And let us just see. At the moment, we're taking off in heading select. That is as it should be. Now, turn on our pumps and our auxes, and we'll take the opportunity to do 2 things. One is to turn our weather, our multifunction display to weather radar, so we'll have that on this side and terrain on this side. And we'll cross-fill our flight plan into the number 2 FMS, because if the number 1 FMS craps out and we don't have the flight plan loaded, we are SOL. And that is exactly the same as with the real dash. So check our flight plan. It's in there. That's cool. And we'll check our number 3 hydraulics. And we're going to look for this to come up, and then we're going to exercise the elevator when we turn it off, and we're going to watch it come down. First thing we'll do is kill the caution, and then boom, down it comes. Regard that. Next thing we will do is we will check our controls, turn off the gust lock, and we will observe and check for rudder travel, and that's good. And check our elevators, and that is good. So we'll put the gust lock back on, and we'll turn our spoilers to white, and we will start to roll. But what I think I will do is, because I worry that it's a little bit loud in here, let's switch to our volume mixer and bring this down. I got this question from somebody who was recording and wanted to know how to make sure that the sound didn't swamp out his voice, and the way to do it is you go in here, you look for the P3D or the FSX, and then you bring that down and you keep everything else up where it is. All right, well, I'm exhausted already. I need a cream soda. We will take off the brakes, and again, we're going to go out to the second taxiway there and then cross the runway and then continue on out to runway 7, or as they say in the business, runway 07. And we'll try to be good citizens here and taxi in beta mode the whole way. This airplane is not afflicted with the dreaded FSX friction bug. It rolls normally, and depending on where your props are, it will either roll slightly forward or roll slightly back if your feet aren't on the brakes. So ain't nothing wrong with that. Somebody said I taxi like a Southwest pilot, and all I can say is I've gotten no complaints from the people I've hit. I also make sure, it's my policy, that if I'm going to hit anybody, I'm going to kill them, because who wants lawsuits, you know what I'm saying? Alright, even though we've been cleared to cross, we still check because you never know. So we'll cross the active, which also happens to be the only in this very scenic airport here. As you can see, it wasn't exactly built for Airbus 380s, but the Mighty Dash can do it. My philosophy on taxi speed is, well, you know, when I hit the jetway, I'll know we're there, and who needs brakes, because the telescoping jetway will absorb the blow. Boy, I'll tell you what, if you're going to have a heavy-duty winter, you might as well have it in the Alps, because this is just damn nice. I don't think there's any other way to say it. It's just really damn nice. Alright, now this runway has a displaced threshold, and the Mighty Dash, of course, doesn't really need as much runway length as it's got, but I want to kind of build up a bit of a head of steam here, and I think I'm going to hold it on the ground, perhaps a beat or two longer than necessary, and see if I can just eke a little bit more climb performance out of it, so that it'll lessen the need for us to fly the whole procedure. If we can get up to 15,000 feet, 16,000 feet in short enough order, we might be able to ask ATC here to clear us direct to our initial fix and save ourselves a little time and save the company a little bit of fuel. But we'll see. Nice little sort of stone crushing sort of operation out there. A little gravel plant, it looks like, or concrete plant. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to just back taxi to the beginning of this displaced threshold, because we legally can, and runway behind us is of no use whatsoever to us or anyone else. Now let's see if I can turn around. That will be the challenge. Little geometry problem here. Nothing we can't handle. See, I bogged down halfway through it. Always happens. Alright, so here we go. Let's do a quick check. Pop this into taxi briefly, turn off the gust lock, and do a takeoff warning test. We are clean. Pop that back into flight. Just rebrief. We are going to fly outbound here, runway heading. We will intercept the 068 outbound. We will fly it to DME about 9, and then we will make a slight turn to the right and then a left turn to re-intercept and come back on the 068 whence we came. So, and then what we'll do is we will hit Sion, and once we hit Sion, we will then fly outbound on the 235, and we will do that for 27 miles plus 3, so we'll do it for 30, and then turn towards Roca and get on the road. So let us see. Nose wheel steering, good. Controls checked. Trim 3 set. V-speed set. Flaps should be 15. See, it's a good thing we checked. Pumps on, aux is on, auto feather on, gust lock off, parking brake off, condition levers max. Heats on, bus tie off, landing lights on, taxi lights off, anti-collision lights to white, local lights on, passengers seated, bleeds min, cabin fine, cautions and everything else tested. APU again is off. So let us vacate. Bring the props and engines up. Set it to the index power. Look for 80 knots initially. And I'm going to hand fly this at the moment, and we're going to manually pull us up to 10 degrees. Okay, there's V1 and VR and V2, and up we go. Look at that. Ah, it's a thing of beauty. And gear up. One thing I did not do, and I'll fix that very quickly, is I did not turn on our transponder. That happens. Okay. Now let us cut in on the 068 outbound. And we're maintaining visual contact with the ground. Put ourselves in nav mode, and that will guide us with the flight director needles. It's going to guide us to the intercept. Let's see what our climb performance is like. It's 2,100 feet per minute, just as we wanted. So we're going to keep it right there. And as you can see, as the blue needle comes in, we keep the pink needle centered, and that will watch it. The pink needle will creep to the right in 1 little second. See how it's starting to edge to the right? So that's helping us intercept. Fly the pink needle and the blue needle will take care of itself. Just monkeying around with my rudder trim. Now we're looking for about 9 DME. We're at 6.3. And I will bet you that 9 DME will take us past that bluff on the right at about 1 o'clock. Because that looks like a significant obstacle, and that certainly is something we want to avoid. And it looks like it's something we will avoid, and I will bet you dollars to donuts that this departure was designed in part around that bluff, because we have to get over that bluff, and then we can make a slight turn to the right, and then do our 180. And what will happen is, all in one graceful move, I will spin our heading bug around. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do that right now to 248. So heading bug comes around to 248. Ordinarily, the nice first officer would help out here, and ordinarily I'd be flying on a yoke instead of a joystick with my left hand and not my right, so I could use the mouse for... Okay, there's 9.6. We're just going to give us enough room, so we'll hit our chrono right there. Fly that out for about a minute, maybe a little less, otherwise we're going to hit something. And then we're going to come back around, and our course coming back is going to be 248. So we'll set 248 for the course. Just as we make our little teardrop entry into this sort of semi-holding pattern here, which is really just a reversal is what it is. Okay, so we've got our outbound course, or our return course set. And you see what this whole maneuver is doing is it is buying us time. So around we come. Gonna put us back into nav mode, and as you can see, our pink needles are now guiding us back to an intercept onto the inbound back to Sion. And we're already up to almost 11,000 feet, so this maneuver is serving its purpose. Just going to trim down a little bit. And as you can also see, we're blowing slightly through that radial, but we're going to come back to it. So up we go. And I've still got our flaps in, mainly because I want to be eking the maximum climb performance out of this. So around we come. Now, probably there's the valley and there's the airport beneath us. Look at that. On further reflection of the Dash's performance data, I might just find that I didn't have to raise the flaps. I mean, keep the flaps down at all. But we're gonna look at our vertical speed there and see we're still going up at 2,100 feet per minute, but we're slowing down a bit. So I'm gonna just bring the nose down a little, and now I'm below my V fry. So I think we've run into our sort of, I guess you'd call it our hinge point for performance here. The point where what we're losing because the altitude, what we're gaining because the flaps, we're giving up because the altitude. So we're 11 miles from Sion, coming back to it. And then we're going to go another 30 miles past it, and by that time we'll be somewhere on the moon. We're climbing so fast, so we don't really have to worry about that. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is save our poor engines, bring them back to max climb, Going to nose down a little bit, and as we re-intercept the 248 coming back, I'm just going to let us pick up a little bit of steam here. I'm actually above V-fry, so I'll pull our flaps in and watch the speed climb a little bit as we make our way back up the valley. Alright, let's see what we can do now. I think I'll put us into IAS mode. And that's not a bad speed to get some decent climb performance. Just see where we are at this point. As you can see, we've re-intercepted the 248, and there's the valley below us. And I'm just trimming to stay there, and as you can see, we are right on our radial, and we're already at 16,000. So let's also spin ourselves up to look at how stable the plane is. I am not touching the controls here. Outcell, there we go. I mean, I'm sitting here 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, sitting here with my hands off the controls. It is truly wonderful. I know it's kind of strange to be bragging about the fact that you can hand fly your plane without hand flying your plane, but, you know, it's a weird world we live in, isn't it? And we're just navigating our own sweet way out here. And as you can see, we weren't using our waypoints. We're not using our GPS. We were just using our blue needles. But only by using our blue needles, we are still. Look at that. We're bang on course. We're a tenth of a mile deviated to the left. Probably a little bit less because it doesn't read in hundredths, so I'll bet you actually we're a little bit closer than that. And we are almost over Sion. I think we are, so what we can do is we can now set our course to 235 and set our heading bug to the same. And now, again, you can see that our pink needle is telling us the way to go. I'm going to pop us in heading select right now because we are over the zone of confusion for the VOR, and it's going to be a minute or two before we get it back. While I'm at it, because the plane is so damn stable, as I'll do my after takeoff checks. That goes there. Bleeds come up to normal. Pressurization is fine. No icing encountered. And as you can see now, we are, over our VOR, and we are still right on the magenta line, and we're not doing any navigation right now, really, with our FMS. And fortunately, we're hitting some fairly clear air, so that's good. And we can also start to climb a little bit faster, so let me just nose down a little bit so we can pick up some speed. We are reasonably clear of all but the very highest of the Alps. We will not be sanctioned by the Eiger today. That's a Clint Eastwood movie from the 1970s, so just ask your grandpa. Okay, there we go. And as you can see, the needle shows we are ever so slightly left of track, and it agrees with what the GPS says we should be. So we're pretty much golden. And we are going to fly this outbound for another umpteen miles here, and we'll probably be up to altitude by then. What I'll do is I will cut the video right here. We will pick it up when we get a little bit closer to Split, and as we set up for what should be a really spectacular approach into a truly magnificent medieval city. Beautiful place. Got everything. Alright, so I'll see you in a few. And what's that we see as we approach the Dalmatian coast? Why, it is, of course, our old friend, the Mighty Dash. Ah, what a sight. Look at that. Cecil B. DeMille couldn't have done it better himself. And here we are, and here is our star we're going to be flying. And we are just coming up on top of descent, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, 6 minutes away, so let's just quickly brief the arrival. It is going to be this star that is going to bring us in this way from Sal and shoot us down here, at which point we are going to turn onto this DME arc here, and then we're going to turn inbound for the ILS to runway 5. The weather in Split is perfect. It's in the 50s. It is clear. There's not a bit of wind. It's downright uninteresting, but we will have a great view of the scenery. This is the arrival we'll be flying. Here's our arc, and here it is, right into runway 5. We could fly it visually. We could do a circling approach if we wanted to. And in the meantime, as we get closer to TOD, let's just get our passengers seated. Check everything else, which is cool. We should set our landing elevation, which is good. And everything else is good. Props 850. Power levers at rating power. We've got the ILS waiting for us in nav 1 and nav 2, and what we've done is we've set up the HUD with the glide slope and the runway length and the runway elevation. So we'll be good to go there. And let's do this. Let's set up our HUD for one of two modes. Let's see, IMC or VMC. So we'll set up for VMC. So we fly a visual approach, but we'll fly the HUD. And basically we'll do that by plopping our flight path vector onto a glide path and then onto the runway itself. Or we'll just admire the view. Alright, here we go. We got plenty of fuel left. I did a little bit of cross-feeding to even them out, so that we're not listing to the left or to the right, or you'll forgive me, we're not listing to port or to starboard. I'm going to say listing, I might as well make the rest of it correct. And already you're getting a hint of just how pretty the scenery is. Some beautiful islands here off in the Adriatic. As we come up on TOD, 2 minutes away, our vertical deviation scale there lights up. We'll set VNAV, and we've set our initial, you know what, that got spun around, our initial descent altitude should be 5,000. So let us make it so. So let it be written, so let it be done. So 5,000. I'm just going to cross-check by seeing what we've set for our VNAV. We have set 5,000, and it is at SAL. And the minimum for SAL, according to our star, I'll bet you dollars to donuts, is 5K. And it is. 5,000 to Gapri, then 4,000, then 3,100, then 2,900, and we're good to go. All right. In one hot little second, we're going to start to sink like the economy in places. Or I'm sorry, today's the day the United States published its jobless figures, so in this case, because the news is good, we can either sink like the economy, or because it is good today, we can drop like the unemployment rate, which it did, down to 4.9%. Now all we have to do is start paying people we employ, but that's an entirely different story. Some really beautiful looking coastline here. And let's see how far we have to run. And let's see if we can get direct SAL. Let's see. Is that SAL right there? Yes. Let's do direct SAL. Let me see how long those legs are between ZDA and SAL. In the meantime, I'm just keeping an eye on this, and I'm going to roll down our power so we don't overspeed, because we're going to, boom, start going down right now. Now, as I adjust that, as I bring down the power, you see how we slewed off there? So what we need to do is apply a little left rudder trim. There we go. Just keeping it close to barber pole speed, as close as I can. And from SAL, from ZDA to SAL is how far? Not far. Well, 31 miles, so let's save ourselves a little heartache and let's go direct. Now, you know, if we go direct SAL, we're going to have to descend at quite a rate, and we don't want to scare the passengers, do we? What's that I hear you say? We do want to scare the passengers? Well, okay then. We'll do direct to SAL. 11 confirm. 11 typed. In we go, and down we go, and it should, you see how it's nosing us down now? Because it realizes now we have to go down a lot faster, so I'm going to make this fun. There are two reasons you wouldn't do this. One is because too nose down in attitude can be concerning to people. And really, the big reason is that if you descend too quickly, unless it's an emergency, your pressurization can't keep up with it, and your passengers' ears end up being kind of assaulted and popping, and people feeling pretty lousy. But let's see if we can do this. We've got 45 till Sal, so that's 15, 135, 13.5. We can go down. And we are, if we go down 13.5 from where we were, we at 7,000, which will be fine, but we'll have to continue to descend steeply here. So let's see if we can make it. Sal would be calling for 1,900 feet per minute, so let's go back. Our target vertical speed is 2. We are at or above that, so we're good there. Now we'll just monitor developments. Because there are two localizer looking frequencies on my Lido or Lido, well, our Lufthansa data chart, I'm going to also take the opportunity to tune when it offers it. Although, you know what? It's an interesting safety check. I've tuned in the two nav radios for our ILS approach, and I've done that manually. And if I've done it wrong, unless the database is wrong, and it rarely is, if I've done it wrong, when I arm the approach, it will then offer to tune it for me, and then it will tune the correct frequency. Done it right, it won't annoy me, so there's really no reason to think about it. We just have to look at it here, and when it says tune approach, it probably means because it knows better than we do from our crappy reading of those inscrutable charts, which of course I'll have to get a guidebook or read the PDF somebody kindly sent me instead of bitching about it and groping around not knowing what I'm doing. I'll just remedy that, and I'll know what I'm doing, and we'll find out actually how to read these charts. I'm so accustomed to Jeppesen or Federal charts, so, and plates, especially plates. I didn't say I was good at them, but I'm only accustomed to them, I guess you'd say. So we're coming across some really pretty islands here. Just avail ourselves of the view. That is a medium-sized town down there. It's pretty cool. Alright, so we're letting our speed hover right around Barber Pole, which is good. But we're not letting it creep into the red, which would be bad. As well as deeply, deeply wrong. Noting, of course, that as the air gets thicker, the oh, don't do that. I'm watching. As the air gets thicker, the Barber Pole creeps down. There we go. Just trying to keep her right on the edge of that Barber Pole. save the passengers some time and use the laws of physics as much as I can to save the company some money. But I'm not a company man, and we're really not paying for gas, so... And besides, fuel is cheap again. The feeling if it were happening in the 1920s, some Tin Pan Alley guy would write a song about fuel is cheap again or something like that, and Rudy Valley would probably sing it, and we would all buy the sheet music and play it on our pianos in the living room, thereby sucking any of the musical spice out of it. It's sort of what some of the cleaner cut 1950s singers did. And I'm truly blanking on his name, but he was known for it. His father, he's the father of the singer of "You Light Up My Life," and I can't for the life of me remember his name. He's a friend of Ronald Reagan's, and was a friend of Ronald Reagan's, and was a fixture in the Reagan White House. Pat Boone. That's who I was thinking of. Pat Boone. Debbie Boone is the one who sang "You Light Up My Life," which I think was used in some romantic movie of the same title. It's supposed to be an awful movie. But that's a technical term. No, actually, that's not a technical term. That's a subjective judgment. Technical term would be a turgid stink bomb. That's the technical description of it. The subjective description of it is a not especially good movie, but a turgid stink bomb is the official technical term. We gotta have some sort of contest. The viewers, maybe me, and that is come up with new technical terms. The Army, the military, is always good at coming up with new jargon, and not only new jargon from the brass, some of whom have acronyms like COM Sync Pack, which is, Jesus, the commander of You see? I know the pack part, that's specific. I know the command part, that's the com part. And I don't remember the sync part, you see? Although you would think that nothing in the Navy should have sync as any part of its name, but I digress. Now, let's just take a look over here as we approach our first constraint, Sal at 5,000. Okay, we're 1,000 away. And we are just about 2 miles from Sal. So we're going to come in probably around 5,100. And that'll be just fine because our constraint is above. And roll off a little more power here. Roll off even more power here. There we go. Square up our heading bug again. And more than that, let's see if we can arm our approach. No, not yet. Alright, spin down our alerter. Gonna bring it all the way down to 2,900 feet as we get leveled off a little bit here. You know, I'm trying to figure out the logic of the VNAV and the FMS, because it doesn't, even though we can go down to 4,000 anywhere between there and here. It does not descend us initially quickly, and it doesn't well, you know, to tell you the truth, I don't quite know how it does it. It's almost as if it builds a new top of descent somewhere around here, working backwards from the 4,000 feet here, figuring out when it has to start going down, and then building an invisible to the pilot sort of location where it starts descending again. But I guess I'm wondering why you wouldn't do that just from the jump, but who knows. Anyway, we can set local altimeter. We can turn our lights on, and everything else is good. We're not lollygagging, but we're not going especially slow here. So 4,000 at Capri, 3,100 there. Nope, can't read it. Okay. Let's just check our HUD to make sure we set everything up right. Okay, that up there is VMC, and we'll flip the standby, and it's IMC. Okay, so we know how to do all of it. Interesting. Okay, VMC shuts off our flight director cross right here, but keeps our double meatball here, so we're all set nonetheless. And our speed is creeping up again because our air density is creeping up. Okay, when, bonus question for anybody following American politics, when will a commentator or a voter or a man on the street or anything pick up on the fact that Senator Bernie Sanders, the independent / Democratic Socialist / Mensch from Vermont, is not exactly some waspy guy from Vermont. He is a nice Jewish kid from Brooklyn. I've not even heard it mentioned. It is really something. He looks just like every great uncle on my father's side of the family did, and some still do. And that is to say, tall, fairly Jewish looking, with profound accents and opinions about everything, and a sense of urgency like you wouldn't believe, like you have to go man the barricades. And I instantly looked at Bernie Sanders, and I instantly saw my Uncle Irving. Well, one of them at least. I had 3 Uncle Irvings at one point in my childhood, which made things kind of interesting. And speaking of which, we've got a little bit of ice, so we'll fix that. But Bernie Sanders is my late Uncle Irving, bless him. So, and he's only slightly to the right of him. Okay, so we'll arm the approach, and it is not offering to tune, which means, like Indiana Jones, we chose wisely. Picture Indiana Jones saying approach plates. I hate approach plates. On the other hand, the guy who plays him, Harrison Ford, is one of the best private aviators around and is very generous of his time and really loves to fly. So whether it's Indiana Jones or the man who portrays him, it is all pretty damn cool nonetheless. So you see, we're just sort of like inching our way down to 4,200 feet, so I guess that is good. And if I said 4,200, not 4,000, apologies, long week. Short weekend. But really looking beautiful down there. We'll see how the airport looks. It's from Aerosoft, and I just installed it, especially for this flight. I figure everybody wants a little eye candy, especially coming and going from airfields. So we are coming up on the end of the Star, which will end here, and then we're going to fly our way to this lovely DME arc and on into Split. It's been quite the week with work, so if I yawn at any point or start spouting gibberish, it's just sleep deprivation, nothing else. Let us very quickly, though, set our minimums because they are wrong right there. They are 440. Can that be right? I do believe it is. Class C, that's us, 440. Okay, 440 it is. And we'll also set our V-speeds and set our local altimeter, which is 3047, if you can believe it. And as we do, we should have set that coming below 5,000 instead of coming below 4,000, so shame on me. This is what happens when you talk instead of fly. I didn't even know they made barometer settings as high as that, but barometer readings, did I just say settings? You see what I mean? Just a little sleep deprivation, and now we're a little bit above our ideal glide path, but fix that again in short order. And we will come down to about 180 to fly our approach. What I will do is I will scale us up just a little bit, and we'll set our V-speeds. And as the great Rich at the man behind the YouTube channel Flight Sim 481 has shown, the Mighty Dash actually has a reasonably good, if a little bit quirky, FMS. So difference between Prepared 3 and 3.1 is almost all positive, with one difference, and that seems to be, actually it could be 3 as well, it's probably the difference between 3 and 2.5 is that as it loads and unloads more scenery in order to reduce the VAS footprint. Okay, we're just below 200, that's perfect. As it does that, it seems to be doing a lot more loading and unloading as you enter sort of the areas in and around 2,500 add-on airports. Alright, so we'll come down to 2900 and we'll do that in vertical speed mode. We only have a little way to go. So there it is, outcell, vertical speed. But we're not going to go down yet. We're going to put it in vertical speed, but set it at 0 at the moment. And it has recaptured our DME, our flight path, and flying the DME arc. And actually let us not go down below 3000 because it looks like it's setting a constraint not of 2900 but of 3. So we'll let it do what it wants. We're not going to put in any flaps at all yet. We're just going to come in just a little bit hot here because we got lots of room. And actually, to be totally legal, let's just fix our altitude here and climb up for 1 second here back to 3000. Because that was not quite kosher what we did. There we go. Looks like we've captured. Alright, now we're back in the flying legally business. I will do at this point is set our pumps on. And I will attend to our message. Yep. Okay, our approach is armed. Lights are on. Turn the anti-ice off. That should be fine. Seatbelt signs on. Bleeds should actually be min. On and min. So there we go. We'll set our props to reduce noise profile landing, and there we go. And we're just finishing up our DME arc, and we're going to turn to intercept. So let's set our heading bug to runway heading. And then prepare to fly the plane. Put out 1 notch of flaps at this point. And it's a little hazy. Other thing we'll do is we will very quickly check where we are with respect to the localizer. Okay, we're to the left of it and 12 miles out. And now that we're on our intercept heading, let us switch ourselves over into nav 1 and nav, and there we go, and we're intercepting the localizer right now. Look at that. It's almost like we planned it that way. And we're just below the glide slope, and that is cool too. And maybe we will be flying an ILS approach here, so I'm just going to bring our speed down slightly. I'm already below my, or right at my flaps 10 speed if I want them, but I can't use them without, you know what? Here, I'm going to try this. Here is the gear horn. I'm going to mute the gear horn. No, it doesn't let you do it until it happens. Oh, that's too bad. Alright, well, we're going to capture the glide slope here, and we're going to bring out the power right there. And we're 8 miles out. We don't really have to drop the gear. And we are established. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set my general approach torque right here, and to keep the speed from creeping up, I'm going to drop the gear. And methinks I'm also going to have to roll off the power. I thought I was going to be really clever there. Set my approach power and then not do anything, and then just bleed off speed with the flaps, and the gear, but instead we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. Do a little gumps check there. Not yet. We need one more notch of flaps, and we'll just bring them in right now. That is done. Missed approach altitude is set. There is the runway. Are we going to fly the HUD? Sure, let's fly the HUD. Let's have a little bit of fun. Oops. You see, I've gone and done it. I done did it. I didn't set up my little gauge here. Let's try and get this out of the way before it's too late. That way I can get a look at my power settings. 1,000. You know what? Let's just take out the autopilot and let us, you know what, it's too nice a day. You know what I mean? Oh, it's okay. Here we go. Come up a little bit. It is much too nice a day. So we're just going to fly visually here and pop ourselves into standby and just make a little low pass right here over the harbor, which is beautiful. Look at that. Now we're visual with the field, so we're just going to ignore that. And there we go. Get ourselves nice and right. Do a little gumps check. We're good. Bring the power down slightly because we're going to come downhill a little bit. And let's see what the airport looks like. No wind to speak of, which is great. 500. Come back on our glide path, though. There we are. Let's try for that first high-speed turnoff. Let's see if we can do it. So I'm not going to float it. I'm just going to plant it here. Looks like greenhouses on the edge of the runway.
Minimums. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
All right. We gonna make it? I do believe we will. Look at that. And for you rock and roll fans, before we pull up to the gate here, let's just do a little instant replay so you can see what a real bone rattler of a landing can look like. Give it a go here. A view from the tower. Well, that's interesting. Looks like the tower of another airport. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, look at that. Like olive trees there. Still, it's a funny place to put the control tower. It's really no fun. You don't put a control tower down the hill. There it is. I wonder why that is. All right, well, here. Let's get a better look at that. That should do it. Actually, you know, we touched down at 45 feet per minute, so I guess I did a good job of flaring at the very last second. I think I flared a little bit much, but we'll see on the replay. Any more than about 5 degrees nose up and you run the risk of a tail strike, so let's see how we did. Nice looking airport. There we go. That's a nice view there. Not sure about some of the ground textures, but live with it. All right, let's see how we did. Oh, not too bad. A little nose high. I'll certainly take it. And there's our terminal looking kind of Baltic. Did I say Baltic? I meant Balkan. Looking a little bit Cold War Balkan there. Nice little airport though. Alright, so here we are. Just take care of business here. Pull up to the gate. In with the gust lock. On with the taxi. On with the APU. Bring the bleeds to normal. Turn off our heats. Ordinarily the first officer would be jumping all over these just in about 2.5 seconds. Bim, 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 bim. Just like that. Working faster than any human being could. Alright, there we go, and there we are. And we shall make our way to the gate. Nice, nice location. A nice looking vacation spot, that's for damn sure. And we will just pull into this stand right over here. Interesting little parking setup they got. Alright. Set the parking brake. Bring the props to start feather. Power levers. Go to disc. Nose wheel steering comes off for the push. Generator is running. Everything else is copacetic. Being Europe and being the former Eastern Bloc, we'll of course turn the no smoking signs off so people can do what they do best. And now that we have waited our prerequisite 30 seconds, we will open the doors and kill the engines and call it a day. So just realized something. We will not call it a day because our taxi lights are on. Anyway, having done that, we will now go back inside because my strobes are still on. Now, he says, for the third time, sheepishly, now we will call it a day and start to think about where the Mighty Dash and I will be going next. And again, because Split and Sion both came from viewer suggestions, another viewer suggestion would be great. So just just that we're going to be heading east. And I'm not sure how we're going to be heading east, but I probably want to eventually get to Russia and head across there. Or maybe we'll just do the Ukraine and we'll boycott Russia. But since I have too many friends in Russia or from Russia, I think I'm going to get sentimental and fly there anyway, regardless of the politics. Maybe we'll go both places, and that way we will not have to make a political statement by choosing one or the other. So we're going to be like the United Nations. We're going to be like Pan Am. We're going to go everywhere. So with all of that said, thanks as always for watching. We are now getting near 500 subscribers, which is absolutely mind-blowing. And all I can say to that is thank you 500 times, and all I can say after that is have a good weekend and happy flying. See you soon.